Hello friends, this is class 6 Honeysuckle lesson 1 Who Did Patrick's Homework. This lesson is all about a boy, Patrick, who doesn't like to do his homework. But before we begin with the explanation of this lesson, I would like to ask you certain questions. Do you like your homework? Do you do your homework yourself? Or do you get help from your elder ones in order to do your homework? What homework do you usually have? Have you made a timetable in order to do your homework or haven't you? Patrick never did his homework. He used to say, too boring. He played hockey and basketball and Nintendo instead of doing his homework. Nintendo is a video game that he used to play every time. His teachers told him, Patrick, do your homework or you won't learn a thing. And it was true. Because without doing homework, nobody can learn anything. And homework is to revise everything which is being done in the class. And it was true. Sometimes he did feel like an ignoramus. Ignoramus is a person who lacks education, who doesn't know anything. But what could he do? Because he hated homework. Then one day he found his cat playing with a little doll and he grabbed it away. Grabbed means snatched. To his surprise, it wasn't a doll but a man of the tiniest size to which that cat was playing. That was not a doll, that was the man of the tiniest size. He had a little wool shirt with old-fashioned breeches and a high tall hat much like a witch. This is actually the appearance of Elf, the tiniest man. Here breeches is breeches, that is, or old short trousers. The writer here spells it for fun to rhyme with the word witch. He yelled, "Save me! Don't give me back to that cat." Yelled means he shouted and he said, "Save me." He shouted with anger actually. And then he said, "I'll grant you a wish, I promise you that." And he is saying such words, these words to Patrick, that if Patrick would save Elf from cat, then Elf would grant a wish to Patrick. Patrick couldn't believe how lucky he was. Here was the answer to all of his problems. And there was only one problem in Patrick's life. What was that? That was only homework. So he said, "Only if you do all my homework till the end of the semester, that's 35 days. If you do a good enough job, I could even get A's." Here A's means A grade. So here the deal was being done. There was a deal that Patrick would save Elf on the condition if Elf would do his homework for 35 days till the end of the semester that lasted for 35 days. And he said this also, if Elf would do good enough job, then Patrick could even get A grade in his class. Then what happened? What did Elf do? Let's see. The little man's face wrinkled like a dishcloth thrown in the hamper. He kicked his legs and doubled his fists, and he grimaced and scowled and pursed his lips. "Oh, am I cursed? But I'll do that." Now, the little man had to do that work that he did not want to do, that he did not even know how to do. But he had to do. Why? Because he wanted to save his life from cat. Then what did he do to show his disgust expression? He kicked his legs, doubled his fists. Means he was showing the expressions of disgust, anger and disapproval by doing such action, by kicking his legs, by making his fists double, by grimacing, by scowling and pursing his lips. And then he was thinking, "Oh, am I cursed? But I'll do that." because he had to save his life from cat, and only Patrick was the one who could save Elf's life from the cat. And true to his word here means promise, that little elf began to do Patrick's homework. Except there was one glitch. Glitch is problem. Glitch means problem. The elf didn't always know what to do and he needed help because elf didn't know how to do the homework. In his world, there is no homework. There is no student life. So he didn't know. So that was the problem for elf to do Patrick's homework. Help me, he would say. And Patrick would have to help in whatever way. Why? Because Patrick had to get his homework done from elf in any of the way. And elf shouted to help him out because he didn't even know how to read, how to write and how to do the homework. So Patrick had to help the elf. I don't know this word, the elf squeaked while reading Patrick's homework. He didn't know the homework actually. He didn't know the words actually which were written in homework diary. He shouted in a low voice. Squeaked. To shout in a low voice. So he shouted in a low voice while reading Patrick's homework. Because he didn't know whatever was written there in the diary of Patrick. Get me a dictionary. Dictionary is a book in all the words are written to find out the meanings, to find out the definitions. So here elf asked Patrick to get him a dictionary. Now what's even better, look up the word and sound it by each letter. Now Patrick had to bring a dictionary. He had to look for the word which elf was asking from him, and he had to sound that word out by each letter so that elf could understand better. When it came to maths, Patrick was out of luck. The same happens with you also. When it comes to math, you also think that you are out of luck. What are timetables? He asked. The elf shrieked, means the elf shouted in a low voice. Shrieked means shouted in a low voice. So he shouted, what are timetables? Here timetable doesn't mean the timetable which you follow in the school for the periods or at your home to do all the work. Here timetables means the tables which you have been learning since childhood. That is 2 ones are 2, 2 twos are 4, 2 threes are 6, 2 fours are 8, like that. So he didn't know anything about tables. And he said that we elves never need that because there is no work of timetables of tables in elves' lives. That's why elf didn't know about timetables. That's why he was becoming angry and he shouted at Patrick. And the addition and subtraction and division and fractions. When it came to these operations started dancing over elf's mind because he didn't know anything about these operations. Then he said, here sit down beside me, you simply must guide me. Now here elf is asking Patrick to sit beside him. Here beside means by the side of. And elf was asking Patrick to guide him simply. And how? By solving the sums, by writing those sums on a piece of paper. And Patrick did the same. Elves know nothing of human history. To them it's a mystery. Mystery, it's about which nobody knows anything. So here he said about human history he was totally unaware. He didn't know anything about human history and it was very difficult for him to learn that also, to solve the questions of that also. So he just denied to do that also. So the little elf, already a shouter, just got louder. Go to the library. I need books, more and more books. And you can help me read them too. For the little elf, it was a very big task. That's why he was getting very angry. And it was not a cup of tea to do all these things. and that's why he was becoming angry and he was shouting at Patrick. He shouted at Patrick to go to the library, to bring many of the books and to read those books to Elf, so that Elf could know the answers of the questions asked by his teacher in the school, so that Elf could answer. As a matter of fact, every day in every way, that little elf was a nag. Nag means one who troubles someone all the time by complaining or asking them to do something. Patrick was working harder than ever, and was it a drag? Drag means dull and uninteresting. What does it mean? That Elf was creating more and more problems for Patrick to do, because earlier Patrick was not doing even a single thing for his homework. Now Patrick was doing all his homework himself, but according to Patrick, Elf was doing. Patrick was working harder than ever. He was studying every day. And was it a drag? Was it uninteresting thing or a dull thing for Patrick? Of course not, because according to Patrick, everything was being done by Elf. He was staying up nights, had never felt so weary, was going to school with his eyes puffed and blurry. What does it mean? That Patrick started doing his work even till late at night. He had never felt so tired. He was doing everything happily, was going to school with his eyes puffed and blurry, because he used to wake up till late at night, he used to work till late at night, so his eyes became puffed and blurry, but still he was going to school willingly. Finally, the last day of school arrived and the elf was free to go. Last day here means the end of the semester. It was the last day, the day of the result, when the result was to be declared by the school teachers. As for homework, there was no more, because that day was the day of the result. So he quietly, without even telling Patrick, and slyly, secretively slipped out the back door. Means he went out the back door. He went from the house of Patrick because he got very bored by doing his homework. It was a troublesome work for Elf to do Patrick's homework. Patrick got his A's. Here A's means A grade. His classmates were amazed. Amazed means they were surprised. His teachers smiled and were full of praise. And teachers even they were praising about Patrick in front of Patrick's parents also, and his parents. Now you can imagine the expressions on the face of Patrick's parents. They wondered, they got surprised that what had happened to Patrick, because the boy who never liked his homework, who never did his homework himself, he had got A grade. That was the moment of surprise for Patrick's parents too. He was now the model kid. Now, model kid means the kid to whom everyone follows. He cleaned his room, did his chores. Chores means household work, the work which is being done at home. He was cheerful. He started living happy, never rude. He used to talk very lovingly to his younger ones, to his elder ones, to his friends, like he had developed a new attitude. What does it mean? A feeling about someone or something means as if he had developed a whole new feeling about someone or something all of a sudden. He started doing all his work himself. He started living happily. You see, in the end, Patrick still thought he had made that tiny man do all his homework. But I would like to ask you one thing, that what do you think? Who had actually done the homework, Patrick or the elf? Because let me tell you, Patrick had solved all the questions of mathematics. He had brought history books from library to read them out to elf. He had found the meanings of the words from the dictionary in English which were difficult for elf to understand. So I think everything was being done by Patrick only. But I'll share a secret just between you and me. It wasn't the elf. Patrick had done it himself. That was the here elf was the determination of the Patrick to do his homework. Because in the beginning also it is said that he sometimes he felt ignoramus, as if he doesn't know anything. Then he might have thought, he might have determined to do his all the homework himself. Here elf is a kind of determination in the end, because he wanted to do his homework. That's why he brought the books, he sold the sums, he did all his work. He never felt tired going to the school. Now the lesson ends here. Your homework is to read this lesson, learn new words along with their meanings, and to write the question answers of the same lesson in your English register. Thank you so much.